What is up, and welcome to 3 in the Key. I am Ben Allen, and I will be your guide on this journey, taking you into the minds of some of the top athletes and best sports journalists in the country. My job will be bringing you some of the biggest sports stories that are going on nationwide and in the Lawrence, Kansas area, while also giving the perspective from someone right in the heart of the action. So without further ado, let's get started. Well, it most definitely was not a pretty game last night for the Jayhawks down at Texas Tech. KU coming in leading the Big 12 had some help from Texas losing to Iowa State last night, but not so fast. The Jayhawks not until the final minutes trailed most of the second half. Andrew Wiggins, though, proved why he is so highly touted and was able to get a lucky bounce to help Kansas withstand Tubby Smith and the rest of the Red Raiders. Just because you get to the Super Bowl doesn't mean your job is ensured with that team. Just ask Eric Decker, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. He is coming off a phenomenal season with the Broncos, but the team debates the true value of this guy. Decker, who had 24 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons, will be demanding a large contract this offseason, and the Broncos are weighing letting the 5th-year receiver out of Minnesota walk. Many question if Decker is as truly as talented as the numbers suggest, and not just a product of Peyton Manning manning the helm. Regardless, look for Decker to be a sweet land for whatever team comes knocking for his services. And speaking of contracts, Justin Masterson signed a deal with the Cleveland Indians, bringing him back for 1 more year. Masterson's deal caps off a season full of arbitration-eligible players, along with Brandon Belt and Homer Bailey, who both signed today for $4 million and $100 million respectively. Masterson's deal will be for $7 million this year. He is coming off a shoulder injury that ended the rest of his season until he came back in relief during the postseason. LeBron James has kept his name in the news lately with remarks that All-Star Weekend is more busy time than relaxing time. LeBron says that the 4-day period is just not enough time to be able to relax, and all in fact, he says that you come out exhausted from the break. Look at a guy like Damian Lillard, who competed in the rookie-sophomore game, the skills competition, the three-point shootout, the dunk competition, and not to mention the All-Star game. Maybe it's about time that the league looks into an NFL style where there is actually a break with a week off. Now that you're up to speed, let's take a break, and when we return, sports writer Mike Vernon joins us over at the bar. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are now joined by Mike Vernon, a writer for the Topeka Capital Journal. Mike, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. We're just going to jump right into it here.
Perfect.
Your name is a hot topic on campus a little bit right now. A lot of people are saying that you're doing a lot of justice, possibly, for a lot of students on campus and among other things. But you are a writer for the Kansan as well as Topeka Capital Journal, and you just broke a story last couple days a little bit about KU finances as far as where some of their money is going to athletics. Are you able to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's necessarily doing justice.
You're bringing light to something that people don't realize.
I think it's important information that students should know about.
Yeah.
And basically, students pay a required campus fee of $25 a semester, that's $50 a year, to the Kansas Athletics Department for women's and non-revenue sports. It goes to travel for women's and non-revenue sports, and on Monday, an advisory board overseeing that fee of KU student senators voted either to lower that fee or eliminate it. And then it goes to another fee review committee before going to a final vote for the Senate. And then if it gets that far, it goes to Bernadette Gray Little, the chancellor, who can veto a bill if it gets that far. But step 1 of what Senate is trying to do took place on Monday.
Gotcha. Now, obviously not going to get into your personal opinion of what they should do as far as eliminating it or doing that, but which do you personally think is more likely? Is there a chance that they're going to just cut this fee and that it's going to be added on to possibly ticket prices, or do you think this is something that's going to be a little bit different?
Well, that's certainly a possibility. If the fee were eliminated, athletics has said that they would have to look at other options of how to fill $1.2 to $1.3 million of their budget. and they said student ticket prices are on the table. $150 for basketball and football tickets is pretty cheap, especially compared to a lot of other schools. So that's a possible avenue, but there are other options they could take, and that's part of the debate. It's an important part as well of what could happen.
And obviously, you know as well as I do, both being students here as well being fans of the university, we by no means want to take away money that's needed for the athletic department, but if there are ways that it can be found in other ways, it might be a better option, I think, an avenue. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, the Student Senate debate is, does the athletic department need it? And I think the athletic department feels that Jayhawks should support Jayhawks. I've heard that used, and that it helps them, and it helps equality in sports, because this in part does go to travel for women's and Title IX issues.
Certainly. In which, if you don't know what Title IX issues are, it is the fact that basically men's teams need to receive the same amount of money that women's teams receive, just so there is a fair playing field basically for all sports.
That's correct.
So okay, well, we're going to step away a little bit from the money side of things and step into Mr. Mike Vernon himself as the sports writer and entrepreneur of all things athletic, basically, correct? Right? Just Mr. Sports himself.
Of all things.
Of all things in general. So, okay, you're from Houston, and you're working down in Houston this summer, are you not?
Yeah, I'll be helping cover the Houston Astros for MLB.com as an associate reporter. That runs through the summer, and so I'll be going back home for a few months at least.
You excited to be going back there?
Yeah, it'll be great. The Astros have a young team, a bunch of young guys in the locker room. I think it'll be a great experience for me.
It'll be pretty good. And I've heard they're also considering offering you like a left field position. Is that true? You're going to be writing for the team and playing for them as well, right? Or maybe pitching?
That's in negotiations. I can't speak to that.
Oh, honestly, of course. Yeah, I don't blame you there. You don't want to get anything held over your head as far as money goes.
Right.
All right. And obviously also being from Houston, your Rockets, they're playing pretty well lately, aren't they?
Yeah, they're third in the West right now on a 7-game winning streak. It's an exciting time for people who grew up watching the Rockets or people who are in Houston right now. Dwight Howard, James Harden, Chandler Parsons.
It's a solid team.
It's a solid team, and they're gelling. It was a bit of a struggle early in the year, but it seems like these guys are used to playing with each other, and the results are showing.
Now, Houston's been a team that's been tied to a lot of trade rumor talk, with Ashik and even Jeremy Lin possibly going back to New York. What do you think are the chances of those deals getting done before the deadline?
Daryl Morey, the Houston Rockets general manager, is known to make some deals at the deadline. He's a big trader. I wouldn't be shocked to see a smaller deal. Doesn't have to be anything huge, but I would not be shocked to see a small deal go down, maybe involving a few draft picks, a second-round draft pick, or possibly Jeremy Lin or Omer Ashik, Omer's a great talent who's on the Rockets bench.
7-footer. Yeah.
He's a 7-footer, and he used to start for the Rockets before Dwight got there. He's not thrilled with this situation.
Of course. A 10-10 guy getting moved to the bench is never going to be happy.
Right. So I would not be surprised to see him moved. He's got a big contract, though, which makes that a bit of an issue.
Do you think this is a team with Dwight Howard now rejuvenating this team that can make a deep playoff run and possibly go for the championship?
They're going to be hard to knock out in 7 games for any team. There are a few teams they don't match up well with. Particularly Oklahoma City, and any run to the championship is probably going to go through Oklahoma City. So if that happens, that would be a really tough series to win.
Well, that's a tough cover for anyone having to cover a guy with a wingspan over 7 foot, small forward position, but also for a guy like Chandler Parsons, who is more accustomed to playing almost the small forward, power forward flex almost at times. So I feel like that might be a little bit difficult. But we're going to keep you here right now, and when we come back, we will be having Hank Cavagnaro, the sports anchor for Jayhawk Sports Report, and you're not going to want to miss that. So he'll be joining the debate with us. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Now joining the desk with us is Jayhawk Sports Report anchor Hank Cavagnaro. How are you feeling in the bar right now?
Doing pretty good.
You enjoying being here in the bar?
A
little scrunched.
I like it.
We like to belly up a little bit, so it's okay. So all right, well we're gonna just go ahead and jump right into this right now. So obviously KU last night they had a tough opponent in Texas Tech. That was a big game going down to Texas to be able to take on Tubby Smith's team, and they barely slipped by with 1 point. But we saw Andrew Wiggins really step up his game last night, and even though he had 19, it wasn't one of his 28-point performances. He really showed that in that last second second, even though it wasn't a pretty shot. He was not afraid to drive down the lane and be able to put the ball in. So knowing that, leading into the topic question, there are guys out there that are having sensational freshman years with Randall, Ennis, and you're looking at Parker, and now you're throwing Wiggins into this mix as well. You know, obviously, if he wasn't already in the mix as well. Just going to throw it out there, who's having the best season of the freshman?
You want to go first?
I'll go. The best season, I think, overall, Jabari Parker's had a great year. He opened the year strong. He hasn't played as tough a schedule as Wiggins has, but I would have to give the nod to Parker. His numbers are better. Duke's having a good year. Also, can't overlook Tyler Ennis. I mean,
yeah, that shot he hit.
I mean, he has had a stellar year.
Yeah, which
Syracuse
one?
hasn't lost. Yeah, exactly.
Which one's the best way to
So,
put it?
I mean, you can't go wrong with any of these guys, and they all do different things well. I mean, Julius Randle had a monster game the other night. He's a force in the paint. And then you also have Joel Embiid, who, when healthy, can affect the game and dominate a game, maybe like none of these guys can that we've talked about.
That's true.
Yeah, if you look at it though, the person whose stats really stand out, and I'm going to hate myself for saying this, is Kentucky's Randall. Randall, he's averaging a double-double.
Yeah.
He's averaging, I think, 12-ish points and over 10 rebounds. It's just that's just so hard to do throughout, like this deep into a season.
With Cully Stein in there as well.
Yeah. So it's just like that stands out so much. But like Ennis is just shot after shot after shot. You can't stop him. But I also think Embiid is gonna be a big threat later in the season, coming into tournament time, because he's grown up so much this season. He's still growing his game, growing his defensive presence, learning how to play defense and not foul. And I think late in the season, he's going to be a very important freshman coming down to draft day.
Do you guys think Wiggins is definitely in that discussion, though, with the top guys? I mean, he's averaging 16 point whatever points right now. And, I mean, he's definitely in there statistically. But as far as being able to do what he's done for a team like, say, Randall has or obviously Ennis has, do you think he's starting to emerge into that topic of a guy that you can go to when the game is late and really be that go-to kind of guy?
I mean, last night he certainly was. And I think late in games, Kansas State is another example. KU has been trying to get the ball to Wiggins. And he scores, and he's done it time and time again. He's taken the ball to the hoop. At the very least, he gets to the free throw line. I absolutely think he's a late-game force, and I think he's absolutely in this conversation as one of the country's best freshmen.
Okay. Assuming now, possibly, there's talk that Joel Embiid is going to be staying. That is a topic that is some people are starting to throw around. Is this a real, reality? Saying that he decided to stay, and you're an NBA team not looking at the draft order, assuming it's the Bucks that gets the first pick. If you had to choose between one of these guys as an NBA general manager, not looking at your roster and seeing what you need, who would be the player you pick? If you just were picking off true potential.
Potential ceiling, that's what NBA teams look for. I say Andrew Wiggins. I think his athletic ability, I think his jump shot will improve over time. He's young. I don't think he'll be tripping in the paint a little bit like he's been doing. That kind of stuff is going to settle. I think he's got the highest ceiling of any of these guys.
He also has the quickest second jump I think I've ever seen. He's able to go up, and in K-State we saw it. He followed his own shot, getting it right back into the basket, and that's just so important in the pros when you have defenders who are going to try to stop you and might get you to make a bad shot. If you can get right back up there and get it in the hole, that's key.
That's true.
Yeah, I think I saw actually that Kansas State highlight. He was on the baseline, and 1 second later, I saw 2 screenshots of time lapsing, and 1 second later, he was putting that ball back in the basket. I mean, that is how quick that is. It's crazy. It really is crazy, and it shows his athletic ability really, really well.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to go on and move on to our second topic here, going with the NBA. The next level for these guys. Cleveland Cavaliers, they still have not given up on the dream of trying to get LeBron James back. And there are now reports as of today with the trade deadline looming that they're going to possibly looking to move Luol Deng, who they just spent 3 first-round picks acquiring. Is Cleveland, are they becoming hopeless with this, or what is your guys' thoughts on LeBron possibly returning to Cleveland or anywhere else for that matter?
I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's found a home in Miami. He's found a team that he likes down there. He's not going to. He might go. Cleveland would be the only chance I feel of him leaving Miami. And speaking of Luol Deng, it's going to be hard for Cleveland to move him. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. He's not averaging as many points as he was in Chicago. He's going to be a hard hard piece to move. And the way that the contracts are set, or the trade set up, you have to work it very. You have to be very motivated to tie him in with other Cleveland players right now. It's just very tricky to get him and another player in. So I think it's going to be hard for them to move him, and I don't think LeBron's coming back.
I agree on both points. I mean, it would be shocking if LeBron went back to Cleveland. Even though there's talk about it, it would just be a huge shock. Then again, it was a shock when he went to Miami. So he's done it before, but I mean, I think it's a little bit hopeless. Kyrie's a great player. I get where the argument comes from, but I think Miami's the place for him. Also, Luol Deng, I mean, that's just kind of a disastrous situation going on right now. After giving up so much in a deal a lot of people thought was a good one for Cleveland, a step forward, and now they're backtracking. That's not what you want if you're the Cavaliers.
Do you think LeBron possibly has in the back of his head those alley-oops he was receiving from Kyrie Irving during the All-Star game? They looked mighty good. That looked like a combination made in heaven, basically.
There's no defense in the All-Star game.
No, but do you guys think LeBron is possibly thinking, well, I have Mario Chalmers, who by all means is a solid NBA point guard, but Dwayne Wade's getting old. Chris Bosh is not, the player he was necessarily in Toronto. Is he thinking maybe I go with the young Duke stud who's out there and he's able to throw these alley-oops to me, and I could be, a force for even longer with a young guy like this? Is that something that's even crossing his mind right now?
Crossing his mind, yes. Do I think it's making his decision? No, because you had him. Kyrie was throwing alley-oops everywhere.
Sure.
Carmelo. So I mean, it's just like it's hard. I think it's going through his mind. Like, yeah, that'd be nice to receive that every single night, but will it ultimately make the decision? I don't think so.
I mean, I agree with Hank. I'm just not sure that it's enticing enough for LeBron to go at this point. Well, after all the hatred, the burning of the jerseys, I mean, sure, Cleveland would be foolish not to welcome him back with open arms, but do I think it happens? No, I think ties have been severed, and I don't think he's going back.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So maybe they can just hope to reacquire Trent Richardson or somebody like that. Yeah, because that turned out so well for Indianapolis. Right. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and send it into our third topic now. We're going to switch sports here. We're going to go to baseball. And as of just about an hour ago, the Toronto Blue Jays have said that they're basically unlikely to sign Ervin Santana. And Santana, as you guys may know, is basically the only star pitcher still available in the MLB as far as free agency goes. And Nelson Cruz, one of the bats, is one of the only other names out there left in free agency. The Royals last year had an amazing season with him, but his issue going into this year is that he is a guy that when you sign him, you are basically required to give up a conditional first-round pick, which a lot of teams are afraid to do. And the Royals, they wouldn't have to do that if they re-signed him, but money has been an issue, it seems like, with the Royals. Now, the question is the issue going to be more of the Royals or trying to re-sign him, or is this Ervin Santana basically just saying, I would like to keep my options open, but not really wanting to move, back to Kansas City?
Hank?
Go ahead. Oh, okay. I think it's risky. It's risky signing him. You don't know how long his elbow is going to hold up. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure on his whole situation. It's tricky. It's sticky is the only way to put it.
It really is, but if you're the Royals, you've got a lot of momentum right now, more than you've had in a long, long time. If you're going to spend the money, now's probably the best time to do it and try to go for that winning season. I was in Pittsburgh last summer when the Pirates kind of built off their momentum from 1 year before. They had some nice free agent signings, and they were able to turn that into a special city for the season and for the team. That town fell back in love with the Pirates. The Royals should spend the money and try to get Kansas City to fall back in love with the Royals. Maybe not that they were out of love, but sell games out.
I feel this year gave them the momentum
Yeah.
to fall in love again.
Right.
And if they can ride that like the Pirates, then you know what? Maybe they'll make the playoffs this season. It's just you gotta spend money to make money.
Yeah,
That's true.
it's a risk. But
All right. Well, speaking of risks, to finally cap off the show here, it is
man.
a little bit of an odd story, but if you're unaware, when teams are basically tied in the season standings and basically everything else as far as numbers go, when you are like the Ravens and the Cowboys, it comes down to a coin flip when deciding who is going to be getting what pick during the NFL draft. The Cowboys won this coin flip that ultimately got them the 16th pick in the NFL draft coming up, and the Ravens coincidentally got the 17th pick in the draft. Is this fair or foul? The idea that you basically are determining your future on the flip of a coin.
I want paper, scissors, rock.
Ah.
There's skill involved there.
Their skill is timing.
You're in control at least with paper, scissors, rock.
Was it? It was one single coin flip.
As far as I know, there was only one flip.
Wow.
They did not, no 2 out of 3, just straight up one flip.
That's a lot riding on a single flip of a coin. Like, personally, I would love to say foul. I just don't know what would be fair at that point.
I mean,
what do you?
the
What do
NBA
you
has
put
a
in-
lottery. They
Yeah.
pull balls out of a hat, basically. I mean, ping pong balls. I mean, it's. There may not be a better way to do it.
What if they decided that they were going to have Terrell Suggs get in a fight with DeMarcus Ware?
That would be
that be
incredible.
something like a wrestling WWE, a sport in which neither of them play as far as
UFC.
I'm concerned? Yeah, and they have to duel it out. Would that be a little bit more fair than a coin flip?
Fair to the fans, yes. Fair to the players.
And you guys
It'd be
said this
fun.
is a money
It'd be
industry.
fun.
Sports is money. You make your money off that, right?
That's very true.
Sell it as a pay-per-view. You got money right there.
Well, guys, that's actually all the time we have for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, Hank, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
For everyone watching, make sure you tune in next week at 3 and follow us on Twitter at 3InKey. As for now, I'm Ben Allen, and have a good rest of your day.